Guys, welcome to our ranking of Lil Wayne's The Carter series. Today we're going to be ranking all 5 of Lil Wayne's The Carter albums. Starting off with The Carter 5, moving all the way up to the original Carter. I have my list, Ant has his.
Yes, sir.
And let us know in the comments how you guys rank these albums. And subscribe if you guys are new here for more rankings just like this. But going into this is super interesting because The Carter 6 is on the way.
Yes, sir.
And by the way, we are going to discuss that towards the end of the episode. But it's just been a legendary series, man. One of the best hip-hop has ever seen.
I'm going to say this about this episode. I've had so much fun preparing for this just because it was a nostalgic time going back through all of these different albums. Wayne has such a big place in my listening. But let's start off with the Carter 5, man, all right? So where do you have it ranked, bro?
This is interesting.
Where does it go into your list?
Yeah, it's interesting because it's the Carter album that we waited the longest for.
Yes, sir.
Like, I feel like Lil Wayne kind of became the boy who fucking cried wolf with all the release dates that he gave us, and obviously there was the legal battles with Cash Money and all that stuff that went on with it. But then after 7 years in the making, we finally got it in 2018, and it was very interesting because for the first time it was kind of this amalgamation of 7 years of work. And you hear Lil Wayne sounding differently on certain songs. You could tell that some songs were recorded in 2013 and some were recorded 5 years later in 2018. So how did you like that aspect of it?
Oh, I really did enjoy it. But I'm going to say this, though. I have the Carter 5 at the bottom of my ranking.
I have it at the bottom as well.
Okay, so we have
you
it
were
at number
worried.
5.
You thought I was going to have it higher up, eh?
Okay, because you can't. I feel like the Carter 5, whenever I have a conversation about it, I kind of see it as like Wayne out of his prime in comparison to, let's say, when he was rapping with. And come on, bro. Like, listen.
There's some of his best ever storytelling cuts.
There is.
Look at Let It All Work Out. Look at Mona Lisa.
Absolutely. And I love those songs. And listen, I'm not going to disrespect any single Carter here. I think that they're all fantastic albums. But I think the Carter 5 kind of ranks a bit, lower for me just because I feel like there's a certain amount of bloat to the track list. I also do think that there's some melodic cuts on the album that don't sound as great just because I don't like Wayne's auto-tune on those types of productions. So just some, personal nitpick for me. But I do think that, for this album and for the performance in comparison to, let's say, 1, 2, 3, 4, it's kind of out of his prime. So that's at least my opinion.
It does do things better than the other Carter albums, in my opinion. I think that it's Lil Wayne's most personal and emotionally riveting album. I love the family motif, the way that he brings in his daughter, Regine, on one of the tracks here on the song Famous. I love the fact that his mother's opening the album up and then she also closes it out.
Yeah.
So I love those aspects of just the idea of his closeness to his family. Also him questioning his own mortality, asking like, God, why am I here? Also kind of just being appreciative for the gift of life. That was super dope.
I have a couple
But I will say this, though.
Go for it.
If the track list was trimmed down to the best 12 to 13 songs, this could be a top 2 or top 3 Wayne album
most
for me.
Definitely. But I want to get into like what I would actually trim off this track list. Example, on certain things like Perfect Strangers, or let's say Took His Time, like Start This Shit Off Right. Like for me,
Start This Shit Off Right's fire, bro.
I'm not that big on it just because I don't like Wayne's auto-tune in certain instances of the performance. Like that's
it's
more
like
of my
an
nitpick.
old 2000s party vibe. I have 6 skips though.
Okay.
For me, it's What About Me, Dark Side of the Moon.
Dark Side of the Moon's not that bad.
That's where his auto-tune's really weak. Dope New Gospel, Problems, Mess, and Perfect Strangers.
Problems is good. No, Problems is good.
Those
Problems
are the ones that
song.
I don't go back to.
But
that much.
even at that, let's say a perfect Wayne rapping performance on a song like Dedicate, where he starts ripping into Birdman, like that was a fantastic.
And also how he's the father to all the rappers that are around
Exactly.
nowadays. Like there's a lot of career highlights. You say what you want about the Carter 5. There's a lot of highlights, but it does rank at the bottom. Let's now go into the Carter 4, and this is an interesting album because I feel like when we talk about the Carter 4, we have to think about it in the sense that this is the album that followed up the Carter 3. So I think that it kind of is maybe Lil Wayne's most underrated album because whenever we speak about it, it kind of is always compared to the Carter 3, and obviously nothing can really be compared to the greatness of the Carter 3.
I will say this though, I think from 2, 3, and 4 was the greatest, let's say, performances within the whole, within this whole Carter series, and that's why I have the Carter 4.
Carter 1 is fire too, bro.
Absolutely.
Where do you have the Carter 4? Though?
I have the Carter 4 at number 3. Actually,
I have it at number 4.
Okay. But listen, we're still reasonably on the same page.
We're on the same
here,
page for
sure. And I think that the issue that I have with the Carter 4 is that you're gonna get some of Wayne's best rapping performances in songs like, let's say, Blunt Blowing or Mega Man, even 6 Foot, 7 Foot. Like there's really a great amount of tracks on here, but there are certain songs that really haven't aged well with me, and I think that you're gonna see the highest of highs when you're going into this, Wayne track list. Just are you really going to retain everything from it? Not only that, but I mean, you have one of Wayne's most melodic, iconic melodic tracks in How to Love. Like that song was everywhere.
I love that song. But it's the only fucking melodic cut that I like on it.
Okay,
when I'm looking at How to Hate, when I'm looking at Abortion, when I'm looking at So Special, they're super weak, to be honest with you. So like those emotional Wayne cuts, yes, the Carter 4 was Wayne getting more versatile because there was a lot of those types of songs
it's also
on there.
Like one of his most commercially successful albums too.
It sold almost 1 million first fucking week,
absolutely.
Bro. It became like the most downloaded iTunes album of all time.
Not only that, but you're going to get one of the best, Drizzy and when Lil Wayne collabs and She Will. Up and Away was a fantastic way to close off the track list as well. I love that song.
That's the thing. I think this has the best features we've ever seen on a Lil Wayne album.
Even Rick Ross on something like
John. That's his best feature, bro. Not Called Devil in a New Dress. It's fucking John, bro.
I remember bumping that in high school. I mean, we were so young, and that was one of our favorite off of there. Not only that, but I think I have one of my favorite Lil Wayne songs of all time in President Carter on this. Like, there's just so much value when it comes.
The stealth that he has on that track, like he's moving so with so much fucking stealth and kind of slickness on that one. What I do want to say though, in terms of a bit of a nitpick, is that I feel like, yes, you're getting amazing songs like 6 Foot, 7 Foot, where you have some of the best metaphors and one-liners you'll ever see out of Wayne's career. You're also getting kind of an absence of the imagination in some of the lyrics. For example, you faker than some titties, you're getting titty fucked is one of the lines that I picked up on. Or Young Money eating, the label getting fatter is another line off of here where it's kind of a bit lazy. And I feel like a bit of like a portion of Lil Wayne's lyricism on this album could be compared to like what dad jokes are to comedy, in the sense that like they're these quick one-liners or these puns
for comedic relief
that take you like 2 seconds to pick up on. Like, for example, I fuck up any track, train derail. You're like, okay, that's cute, Wayne. Like it's good,
but I like
it puts
that,
a smirk on your face, but it's not like the most mind-blowing multi-syllabic Wayne rhyme schemes, which are present on other albums I'll get into later.
Yeah, and I do think when you have to look at the Carter 4, like it is like, let's say, placing third within that 2, 3, and 4 run. I think that's maybe the prime of Lil Wayne for me, especially within this series. And I want to ask you something just before we go on to the next album, which is super fucking iconic as well. Do you think that this was kind of like Wayne's end of prime? Like, I don't want to say it like that, but like, let's say like the last studio album where you were like, fuck, okay, this is actually comparable in some of the greatest, projects he's ever put out within his discography.
Absolutely, because it was such a long road to the Carter 5. And I mean, even if you're looking at I Am a Human Being #2 or the other projects, like the Free Wheezy album, nothing really kind of captivated us, in terms of the Wayne fan base as much as anything since the Carter 4. So I feel like that was probably the end of his prime era. But the Carter 5 was an amazing return, bro.
It was, absolutely. Okay, so what? The Carter 3, man. We get onto this one?
The Carter 3, very interesting album. I have this at #2 on my list, which I know a lot of people have it at #1.
I have it at number 1, and it was such a hard toss-up between 3 and 2, and I'm going to get onto 2 after this one because we have to still speak about it. And I think what's so interesting, at least for me, for the Carter 3, is I feel like this is kind of like Wayne's like Ready to Die. It's kind of like Wayne's like Illmatic. Like, it was such a monumental drop for the hip-hop genre, and it's still one of the most commercially successful albums, which has nothing to play with the quality. It's just, it kind of shows you the impact of this album. And we debated this against Graduation. I love that episode, and you guys could go check that out, by the way. It's on the channel. But what I love about the Carter 3 is just, I think you're going to be getting Wayne's best rapping performances on this album on a totality level. I mean, songs like Dr. Carter, songs like 3-Peat, that A Milli verse, like, there's just way too much versatility in there for me to be like, okay, and I still have those types of songs in the Carter 2. Like, this is really like a neck and neck race for me. I just think, like, as a Wayne listener, I feel kind of guilty having this at like that #2 spot.
It's so fucking impressive that this whole album leaked and he had to remake it in order for it to come out on time. That was pretty fucking special. But yeah, the Carter 3, I think that it's Lil Wayne's unanimous classic album. You cannot debate that this album has had massive fucking impact in terms of rappers' styles, in terms of fashion, in terms of just the way that Wayne was carrying himself during this time. Not only that, but I love all the concept songs on here. If you're looking at Dr. Carter, the way that he's kind of saving the rap game, the way that Jay-Z's passing him down the torch on something like Mr. Carter. There's just so many, career-defining moments for Lil Wayne on this album. Do I think they're his best rapping performances? Not exactly. I think that he's had better on the Carter 2, which I'll get into a bit later. But if you like, lyrical, melodic, conceptual Lil Wayne, the Carter 3 gives you all of that. I think it's also his best produced album. We got to see him tapping in with someone like Lil Wayne, and like you're like, wow, like why haven't they working together? Why haven't they been working together earlier? Because they give you songs like Comfortable or songs like Let the Beat Build, which are some of Wayne's best ever beats.
Not only that, but I also think that like the way that he was attacking hit songs, like let's say a Milli, where I believe it was Bangladesh that was speaking about the production, where he said that when he initially gave it to Wayne, he didn't think that Wayne was going to use that song structure, right? Because it's literally a Milli verse, like it's a whole verse, and I think you have like a little break within the middle of it, and then he goes on to his second tangent, but it feels like one big verse. And that was kind of unseen for having like a kind of like a mega song go viral, and even just what that was able to do for the game, and how Wayne has been consistently pushing his pen forward. I really do think like that markability of an album mixed in with sheer lyricism and rapping quality was perfectly
and
met
you have
here
his
on this
biggest
album.
hits on here, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, you're looking at a Milli, if you're looking at Got Money, Lollipop, they're all on here. And I also salute this album because it's the first Carter album without a fucking Birdman feature, bro. Like, that was so refreshing to not have it here, bro.
No, but listen, because I'm going to get on to the first two Carters, and like I genuinely think like, anyways, I want to get on to the
I'm
next
not a
one.
fan of, at least in the Carter series, of Birdman and Wayne's collaborations, to be honest with you.
I like them, and I'll explain to you more like when we talk about the
Carter
one.
3 classic album. It's definitely had a grip on the culture for the longest time, and it was cool that it was the first album also where he's no longer as invested into the streets. Now you're hearing about Wayne the rapper, and you're getting to see how his life has changed.
Yeah, Wayne the mogul, but he's still bringing those playful and fun bars where he's talking about, obviously gun violence and different types of things. So there was
on
a nice
lesser
balance,
degree, though.
But it was a nice balance still. Like it was still prominent, but it wasn't as prominent as the other two. But let's get on to the Carter 2, okay? Because you have this at number 1. I have it at number 2. The reason why I initially put it at number 2 is just because over time, like as I've been invested into Lil Wayne's music, I always found myself more on the side of the Carter 3, at least for, let's say, a regular bump, or like, let's say, something just, what music do I appreciate more? But you could honestly have this as a 1-2 situation. For me, this is like the Slim Shady LP and the Marshall Mathers LP. It's kind of like the College Dropout and Late Registration. Like you could have those conversations of where, who places what at what ranking. So why did you have this at number 1?
I have the Carter 2 at number 1 because this is the album where Lil Wayne became the best rapper alive. Because if you're looking at
literally
on the album The Carter, he prophesizes towards the end of the track list. He says, "I'm the best rapper alive since the best rapper retired," talking about Jay-Z, who retired with the Black Album in 2003. But then on the Carter 2, he literally has a song called Best Rapper Alive.
And that's my favorite Wayne song ever, by the way.
Yeah, amazing song. And what's cool, too, is the fact that in 2005, Lil Wayne, with this album, did confirm to be the best rapper alive because you had Jay-Z retired, you had Eminem, who was on hiatus, you literally had no one that was dominating a microphone the way that Lil Wayne was during that time.
And listen, Kanye was super prominent within that run as well. You had Common,
but as
there,
a rapper, as a spitter,
no.
I go Wayne during that time.
Like I think Wayne genuinely did have that like unanimous grip on the game as far as everything goes, and I think that you're gonna find his best songs on this album too, bro. Like unanimously, like example, like The Mob, like
Money on My Mind,
there's
Hit 'Em Up,
there's
and
way too many.
He literally
classics.
starts off the album with a 5-minute hookless track, which is The Mob, and this is why I love the Carter 2 so much. It's because of the passion that Lil Wayne pours into his writing and his performances. Because when you're looking at a song like The Mob, he has lyrics like, "And the beat keep crying, and I'ma keep beating her, I'ma keep fucking her." Like the way that he's personifying the production shows you the relationship that he has to his beats, to his music, and that showed me Wayne's passion for hip hop. That it was more than making a quick buck. It was just about the art form and how much he loved actually just murdering these beats. And what's cool too is that he was in school while he was making this album. He was attending classes at a college in Houston. So he was even fucking multitasking just to show you his work ethic and how incredible it was. Not only that, but on this album, he started collaborating with Heatmakers, Cool and Dre, and a bunch of other producers.
Yeah, but that's what I was going to say, though, is that this was one of the first Carters, or actually the first Carter, where I believe you didn't have like too much production from Manny Fresh.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm going to talk more about Manny Fresh's sound and how I enjoyed that on the Carter, but I think it was a nice break for Wayne to come into here because they were doing a lot of music and a lot of different things before the Carter 2 came through. And what's interesting about the Carter 2 for me as well is that I feel like it was also an upgrade in Wayne's flow and cadence and delivery where the Carter one was more of like an intro for Wayne, and like he obviously had studio albums before that were super successful, but with this Carter series, it was really groundbreaking for his career. You know, it made him a unanimous GOAT. And I think what's interesting about the Carter 2 is that it's low-key Wayne's most underrated project. Like, people talk about the Drought 3 or maybe even, let's say, the Carter 3 being the best, Wayne projects within his whole discography.
A lot of people would put the Carter 2 number one, though.
But there's a lot of people that do, but I just think it's underappreciated as an album as a whole within the whole genre.
I mean, you're getting his best ever lyrical feast. I mean, he came in with refined skills here. He came in with more precise flows, and I think that when you're looking at this album, he just took everything a notch higher. And to me, this is Lil Wayne on a fucking hamster wheel, because song after song, he just keeps giving you these knockout performances. The entire album, and it's 22 songs, and he keeps me entertained for that entire 77-minute runtime. So to me, it's a masterpiece. He knocked it out of the fucking park. Even the love songs, like Grown Man with Currency, even those are fire.
Even Corrupt had a fire feature on this as well. So many low-key performances that make you want to go back to Wayne's catalog. But all right, guys, let's get on to the last one. We have the Carter 1, the original one, the original Carter. And what's so interesting about this track list is I think that this was genuinely like the entrance for Lil Wayne as far as like coming through and proving that he could hang with the best and that he's able to do that. And that subject matter is prominent within the whole track list. Like, you're getting him on a vibe where he's braggadocious, but he's telling you he has something to prove. He's telling you that he's working towards that, best rapper alive, title. And what's interesting too is that we're talking about Manny Fresh before. Manny Fresh took care of most of the production on this, and I love that Southern Louisiana sound that rings out throughout this
Southern
whole track.
Bounce, absolutely.
It's like there's so much energy that comes through with it, and I think that I kind of missed that out of the Carter 2, but I understand why it happened. It had to happen.
The production's way better on the Carter 2,
but the original Carter still has fantastic production.
I think it's his worst produced album.
Really?
Out of the entire production. I just think that it's a bit more one-dimensional in terms of the types of sounds that you're getting. I also think that in terms of the mixing and mastering on the vocals, it's not as polished as the rest of the Carters. Manny Fresh produced about 18 of the songs on here, so he took care of a lot of them, and they're well-produced tracks. I just don't think that they have the triumphant essence or, let's say, the drum patterns that knocked the way they did on something like the Carter 4. Like, there was just kind of more of I would say a slower tempo to the beats that I didn't really enjoy as much. But what's interesting about the Carter is that when we talk about series in hip-hop, in music, in even films, the original usually tends to be the best, but that wasn't the case here for me. I think that Lil Wayne really grew a lot, though, because he had to step up to the plate on this album because he was the only member of the Hot Boys left on Cash Money Records at the time, so he was kind of the face of that whole label, and he had a lot to prove, and he did prove a lot on here, and I feel like you're really getting Wayne in a zone where he's getting more complex as a lyricist. If you're looking at this in comparison to Lights Out or The Block Is Hot, 500 Degrees, like, he really upped it a notch, started focusing more on his rhyme schemes.
He was maturing as a rapper.
He was maturing, absolutely.
The content matter is much more mature. Him reflecting on his life and, the types of things that he's involved with, that was mature. The cadences and flows that he was bringing in here were completely new to his arsenal as well. Like, it was really a big surprise for a lot of people. Not only that, but I have some song runs on this album that I absolutely adore. So, starting off with Walk In, Go DJ, this is the Carter, and then after that, Birdman Jr. Bro, what
Birdman Jr. is the one for me on this album.
Oh my goodness, what a fucking run, especially to open it up. You have 4 tracks simultaneously going back to back that all offer different things, but that keep you instantly engaged as you go through the rest of the track list. I even love the little run from, let's say, I believe it was, Inside, Bring It Back, and then Who Wanna after that. Like, fantastic tracks as there. I mean, what are you really going to find with flaws on this album as well? Like, as you said, the mixing and mastering, the production can get a bit stagnant, but really, it's a strong album.
It's very strong. There's a couple of misses, but I mean, overall, it's super strong, and I think that I love also the idea of the concept for the record of having walk in and then walk out as the closer. The fact that you're kind of walking into this trap house that Wayne is showing you around. He's telling you what's going on in there, which is a reference to the movie New City Jack. So it was more conceptual than the other Carters, and I love the idea of the skits, bro.
But that's what I was going to mention. On the Block number 1 and number 2 was fantastic for this track list because they're nice breaks as well. I believe they place at number 5 and 14, and then you have song runs in between there, and you could hear, let's say the pain and Wayne. It was Wayne that was talking through those skits, correct? I believe it was.
Not
Wayne.
all of them.
I believe in the first one it was Wayne.
There's a woman that's speaking.
No, but I mean, but I'm saying it was Wayne that was speaking with this woman that was throughout the track list, right?
In one of the skits, I believe it's just a woman that's talking.
Okay, but on the block number 1, I believe it was Wayne, and it was just cool to see how like he was taking a different perspective to gun violence and how that was affecting his life. And he was like, "Fuck, man, boy, what's wrong with you? It's fucked up how that went down, man." Like just him reflecting on like his actions. So I have this at number 4 in my ranking. What do you got?
I have it at number 3, bro. I have it above the Carter 4. Yeah.
Really? Why? Why do you have it above number 4?
I just think that. I mean, overall, again, the concept is a bit tighter, and I think that it was the entrance of the Carter series. I love the way that he set up this series and the way that he kind of, built the mold of what it was going to become.
Yeah, but I don't think you're getting songs like Mega Man or Blunt Below Win or like 6 foot 7
You're getting Heat, you're getting Inside, you're getting Birdman
they're
Jr.
Great, but like I do think that like again, this was Wayne entering his prime. Like the Carter 4, you could still argue that Wayne was still in his prime. Like I do think that I have this a bit lower just because of maybe I guess even personal bias.
Yeah, so yeah, that's the ranking. Let's do it from top to bottom. So sorry, from bottom to top. So my number 5 is the Carter 5. My number 4 is the Carter 4. Number 3 is the Carter. Number 2 is the Carter 3. And my number 1 spot, what I think is Wayne's best album, is the Carter 2. What about you?
At number 5, I have the Carter 5. At number 4, I have the Carter. At number 3, I have the Carter 4. At number 2, the Carter 2. And then after that, number 1, what I think is Wayne's best album, the Carter 3. So
Very
guys,
interesting.
let us know your rankings
and also
in the
the
comment
Carter
section.
6, bro. It's going to be coming soon.
But I wanted to get into this segment as well where I talk about, where do you think the Carter 6 is going to start ranking into this? And I was about to ask you guys in the comment section, where do you think the Carter 6 is going to be placing within these conversations if he ends up releasing it?
It's interesting because, I mean, to me, like the Carter 4 and 5 kind of rank more towards the bottom. So this would maybe follow suit with that. But when I'm looking at Wayne's feature run in 2021,
that's facts.
He still fucking got it, bro. That guy has a battery on his back and he's not fucking slowing down for anybody. I would love to see a cinematic experience. I'd love to see him bring back Drake, bring back Nicki Minaj, kind of have the whole YMCMB crew together again. And yeah, I'm just expecting Wayne to really give us a body of work that's been time in the making, because again, it's been 4 years already since the Carter 5.
But that's what I love about the Carter series is that like they're good. Like it's nice how they're all spread out properly, and now there's like mixtapes to keep you held in within the middle, kind of how like Drake does it now, and like how like that Lil Wayne formula, birthed the whole generation of rappers. So as I was mentioning before, guys, if the Carter 6 were to be coming out, where do you think it would place in your ranking? Just hypothetical, and let us know how you think about our list. Obviously, it's all subjective, and drop your list in the comment section if you want already. Guys, thank you so much for watching this video, and we'll catch you in the next one.